Welcome to today's episode on conditional access policies in Azure Entra ID. In this session, we'll dive into how conditional access helps protect your Azure resources by enforcing security based on specific conditions like user identity, safe locations, and device compliance. So let's explore how you can configure and apply these policies to safeguard your application and data on cloud. What are conditional access policies? Well, conditional access policies are a set of rules that enforce security control based on real-time user location, device health, and other risk factors. These policies determine who, where, and how users can access application and data within Azure. In simple words, if the conditions are right, user will be able to access the application or data. If the conditions are not safe, access will be revoked. Even though you are a global admin, it doesn't matter. Even a global admin can lock themselves out if they create conditional access policy in a bad way, I will say. Now, key components of conditional access. The first one is in the name, conditions. Here you define criteria such as user location, device compliance, user sign-in risk factor, user ID factor, means UPN factor, and there are many more conditions which you can apply. These are the conditions. The next component is the controls. Here you specify the actions to take based on the conditions. For example, if the conditions are not right, then the access might be revoked completely, or you might require multi-factor authentication on top of it, right? You can also entirely block access if you want, or you may give them a message that to access this service, you need a compliant device. So these are the controls. It all depends on your organizational scenario or needs. Now, what are the benefits of using this methodology of conditional access? Well, the first one is enhanced security. This actually applies real-time policies to protect your resources based on a current condition. Whenever a user tries to access, the conditions are actually evaluated at that time. If by any means the user, let's say, lost the connection and wants to access data again immediately, maybe after like 5-10 minutes, again the condition will be evaluated. So that is what actually is more important in this ecosystem of Azure, and that's what adds more security over your environment. The next is granular control. Here, tailor-made policies to specify that this user group or a specific application can access a service if a specific condition is met, can be done. So this is what granular control means, and the organization can actually tune it to their needs or scenarios. The next benefit is compliance. Well, it meets security standards and regulation by enforcing risk-based access policy. A lot of governments or even organizations actually want this to be their way to go to add more security. So the nice thing is that it is actually compliant. Some common use cases. Well, the first one is it requires MFA for external sign-ins. Now, this will ensure that users from outside your organizational boundaries can access resources in your organizational boundary, but they have to provide MFA, multi-factor authentication. Other use case can be to block access for untrusted locations or non-compliant devices. Here, it can protect against unauthorized access by blocking users from a risky location or an unsafe location, or even a device that your organization do not regard as a secure device. So, if the laptop is not compliant or the location is not safe, your access will not be granted. Configuring and applying conditional access rules. Well, conditional access actually strengthens security by enforcing policies that apply based on user identity, device compliance, location, and even other risk levels before granting access to the actual resource. Some of the key points are zero trust security. It requires continuous authentication to ensure only the legitimate access is granted. The next is adaptive policies. Policies are also dynamically applied based on various factors such as user, device, and even the location of signing in. Stronger protection. Well, for high-risk situations, policies might require added security of MFA, or it can also entirely block access. Now, the access can be granted by the admin later on in the future, can be done, but at the point of signing in, the access can be totally revoked. The next one is seamless integration. These policies work across both cloud and hybrid environment, providing consistent protection. Remember, hybrid means you're on-prem, but it needs to be part of your cloud. Protecting sensitive resources with conditional access. Well, conditional access plays a very critical role in securing sensitive resources or mission-critical servers or applications by applying a dynamic policy based on multiple factors, which we discussed earlier, such as safe location, safe IP address, safe sign-in procedure, and much more. Now, what are the key points? Well, the first one is granular control. It restricts access to your critical server or critical data by setting conditions based on identity, device location, and many more factors. The next one is adaptive security. Policies can further enforce other security measures like MFA, or it can block high-risk sign-ins, or only allow the compliant devices to access resources. So much flexibility is actually given by Azure. It adapts to your organizational security needs. Data protection. Well, it ensures that unauthorized users are blocked from accessing sensitive information. That is how you will protect your data. It basically means that even if that person is a global admin, but if that global admin is trying to access your sensitive data from an unfamiliar or unsafe location or from an untrusted device, even that global admin will be blocked. This is how you protect your infrastructure. The next is your regulatory compliance. Again, putting conditional access in your environment helps your organization to meet security and privacy requirements. Ensuring access controls are in line with government regulations or the organization's protocols themselves. Now we can move to the labs, where we will see where to find this conditional access settings and how to apply it. Once applied, we will also check out the effects, if it is working immediately or not. And also, how can we remove the conditional access? So let's go to our lab. All right, now let's explore conditional access policies. So to find this service, you have to go to Entra ID. So I logged into my Azure Portal. I will click on Entra ID, and then under Manage, you will go to Security. Click on Security, And over here, under Protect, you will find Conditional Access. This is where you will create your policies, you will manage it, you can turn on the policy, or you can even disable it. Or it is also possible to run a kind of an audit mode or reports only mode to check that who's in compliance and who's not. To create a new policy, you will click on Create New Policies and follow the prompts. Then you can also create a policy from a template. Here you get a brief description of how many policies you have, how many are actually enabled, and how many users actually signed in during the last 7 days. It's just an audit report. Then under Manage, you have a service called Named Locations, where you can add your trusted locations. This will come in handy later in a different lab. Then here you can also create your custom controls. Terms of use, you can create a script, you can create a document, a term of use, which your employees, when they want to connect with a resource, they might have to agree. So every organization may have a different terms of, use. This is just for compliance reasons. Then VPN connectivity integration is also possible with this. Authentication context, authentication strength. Remember, these are already there by default, but you can create a combination of multiple authentications together. It simply means that if you want to give access to someone to a resource, but you still want to make sure that it is done in a proper way, in a more secure way, you can present a set of challenges or multiple challenges to that user. Now the user is legit. That user will go through all the challenges and can then access the resource. So it just makes the connection process more secure. Then you have monitoring, where you can see the logs. Means who was actually allowed and who was denied. At what time, on which date. So everything is logged with a timestamp. And you can also audit the log. The last one is troubleshooting. Basically, it's a PaaS, right? Platform as a service. So there is nothing to actually troubleshoot here. If something is not working, maybe you did a wrong configuration. But if still you are stuck, then Azure provide a way to actually create or raise a ticket on Microsoft Azure Portal. Then they will contact you and then they will assist you to resolve the issue. So this is where you create your conditional access policies. Remember, conditional access is very, very, very important for any organization. This actually improves the security by multiple notches. In the next lab, we will see how to actually apply this. So I will create certain scenarios and we will learn together. All right, now let's create a block policy where I will try to make sure that this demo user will not be allowed to access Azure Portal. The only service this user can use will be Microsoft 365 side of it. So let's go to Entra. And I will go to Security. Click on Conditional Access. And let's create a new policy. This will be, again, a new demo policy. And I will target the same user, that is demo user 1. Okay. And this is important. Target resource. Instead of selecting all resources, I will say, no, let me filter it out. So select resources, and which one you want to select? Well, I will select Office 365. Done. So this one is now selected. Oh, wait. Actually, it's the opposite. I will select all resources and exclude Office 365. So this means that this user will not be able to access anything other than Office 365 ecosystem. I will select that. So include everything and exclude Office 365. Now, what will be the condition? Well, in this case, I'm not adding any condition. You don't have to add a condition every time. This means that this user can actually try to connect from any device, any platform, from whichever network this user wants. This will be a kind of overall policy, which will make sure this user cannot access any other resource other than Office from any platform. So I can move directly to access control. So this time I'm going to say block. So all the resources will be blocked except Office 365. So I'll block it and select yes, click on, means enable the policy, click on create. Now wait for this policy to initiate. And now we can also move forward and test this policy. So basically for that, I just need the user UPN. And let's go to a new incognito window in my sandbox, portal.azure. You don't have access to this. Means the policy is actually working. Let's try to log in to Office 365. This works, means this user can access the Office ecosystem, but not any other cloud application or service. So the condition policy is working. All right, now let's try to actually create a conditional access policy for a trusted location. So on my host machine, now I will use my VPN client to change my location to a different country. All right, so let me do that. All right, so my current location is UK. So remember, I will create a policy which will allow the user to actually connect with my Azure ecosystem or Azure services from UK. Rest all the countries will be regarded as unsafe and the access will be blocked. So that is our scenario here. So UK safe, rest every country unsafe. So we will create a policy to do that. Let's go to Microsoft Entra. Then under under Manage, click on Security. Then under Protect, click on Conditional Access. And over here, click on Create New Policy. Demo policy. And I will put this policy on just one user. That will be the demo user. Demo group 1, the user is already a member of this group. And then the target source. So this will be for all the cloud apps. All good. Now, nothing on networking, but there will be a configuration here and under conditions. So we have to go to locations. Now, if you click on select network locations, then you have to select one. And we don't have a safe country. This one is the old one, and this is actually Canada. We need UK. So let me go back and show you how to create this location. All right, this will be the trusted location. So let me close it again. We have to do it later. So let's configure the named location first. And countries. Safe. Location. All right. And over here, I will click on no. United Kingdom. All right. So this will be the safe country. That is United Kingdom, and we will use it later in our policy. So let's go back. Click on policy. Do we already have one? Yes, we can actually configure this. So it's an old policy. Let me delete it and create it again. Demo policy. User will be the demo user. Target resource will be everything, so all cloud applications. And the condition we have to configure. All right, so we want to block everything except United Kingdom. So I will say any network or location will be included, excluding just one location. That is my safe location, that is United Kingdom. And save it. For access control, I will say block. Turn on the policy and create. And let's test the policy. So as you can see, right now I am connected to United Kingdom VPN server. So this machine is like virtually in United Kingdom. I will open a new incognito window and let's try to log in with that username. Demo user 01@com. And here, oh, right now it's not working. Let me refresh it. This user should be allowed to actually log in. Here we go. So sometime it might give you issues, but it should work. Sign in again. All right, demo user 1. So when you apply a policy, if you're testing it immediately, yes, you might get some glitches. But if you give it like a minute or two, then the policies will be applied perfectly. So as you can see, the user can log in to Azure Cloud Applications. Let me close this session. And also, let's move to a different country. Let me disconnect. And let's go somewhere else. How about Brazil? Why not? So now we are in a different country. Let's go and open a new session. Demo user 01. And as you can see, the user cannot access this application or the portal because the user is in a different country. So that was the conditional access policy for a trusted location. Now let's create a conditional access policy for a trusted IP address. So let's go back, and now I need to open a notepad, and I will connect with multiple countries so that I can get some examples of IP addresses which we will use. So let's say Brazil. So we got this IP address. I will note down the IP address 138.199.58.38. Brazil. Let's connect to United Kingdom as well. One four nine. 50.209.50. Okay. All right, that is enough. Let's go to Entra ID and go to Security, Conditional Access, and create a named location. Instead of creating a location with country name, we will do with IP address range. So click here and say, let's say safe IPs, and start adding your IP addresses. So if you want this range, so this will be your CIDR, but if you have a range of IP addresses, then you will put the corresponding CIDR. And create. Safe IP. And rest, all the steps are same. So let me delete this conditional access policy so that it will not interfere with the new policy we will create. So let's create a new policy. Demo policy. User will be demo user. Target will be everything. And over here, you can actually click on network directly, or you can also go here and click on location. So if you click here, even then you can select that. If you actually go back and click over here, network, even here you can select that. So right now it's the same option, but Azure is trying to put some separation into it. So let's do it. Let's do it from network side. So I will simply say no, not here. Oh, close the whole policy here. All right. All resources, network. Yes, I want to configure it. So I want to block the access from any network and location, excluding this thing, which is two countries, Brazil with a specific IP address. So if you have a different IP address, even though you are in that country, let's say Brazil, it will not work because this one is for IP address. So your request must come from a specific IP address. Okay. I think my page got refreshed.
Sorry for that. Demo policy. Target resource. All resources, network. Yes, any network and location, but exclude my IP address. Condition. Yeah, it's already configured over here. Then the access control will be block access. And turn on the policy and create it. So now let's test it. I am connected to United Kingdom already with this IP, and this IP address is also configured in my policy. So it should work. Let's try it. Perfect, it is working. So this IP address is trusted. So now I will close the session again, and let's go back to United Kingdom, but in a different location in the same country. So earlier I was in London. Let's go to Edinburgh. So this will change the IP address. As you can see, it's a different IP address. Let's try to open a new session. And you cannot access it. So this policy is actually evaluating IP address, the request coming from a specific IP address. And if I go to Brazil and if the IP address is same, it should work. Let's see if we get the same IP address, because sometimes this client also rotates the IP addresses. See, it got rotated. So it's 138.199.5843. And I use 32 as CIDR, so I was just selecting a specific IP address. If I change the CIDR in the policy, which includes the whole range of the last octet, then it will work. So I hope the IP address related conditional access policy is clear.
Welcome back from the lab. Now, you know that conditional access policies can be applied from Entra ID. It is quite simple to actually apply. The only complex part is to understand your protocol, so understand the structure or the conditions you will use according to your organizational need. Remember, applying conditional access policy on just one user and one resource might look very simple, but it can get somewhat complex if you have thousands of users across multiple geolocations and you have multiple resources to protect. But don't worry, the same principle of conditional access policy will be applied multiple times. Now we can summarize this. To summarize, I will say conditional access policy provide a powerful way to enforce security dynamically based on user identity, location, device compliance, and many more conditions like that. By requiring MFA on top of it, or blocking risky sign-ins, or enforcing compliant devices, these policies will ensure only the trusted or authorized user will gain access to critical resources or data. These policies help your organization to comply with regulations or security standards. And it also meets this vision of zero trust security principle by continuously verifying access. So thank you for tuning in today. I hope this session gave you a solid understanding of how to configure and apply conditional access policies in Azure Entra ID. Don't forget to join NetSoft IT Academy for many more courses like that. I will see you in the next episode. Take care.